it's going to cause sacrifice to get there. And that sacrifice might be different things based on your goal. And it's going to be an exciting outcome. But what is the journey like? Are you willing to sacrifice in the journey, in that time of what it's going to take? This is a lot of like what Gary Vee even says in the whole entrepreneur space is like, don't think about the goal of maybe making starting a six-figure business or whatever it is. It's like, enjoy the journey, love the journey, because that's what's going to take most of the time in the process. Oh, I gotta go. I've been working, told them please don't hit my phone. I'm in my zone, bruh, just leave me alone. Was on the road, but I swear I'm coming home. Now the drinks on me, I think we need a toast. See, I did it for me. Now my old friends calling, told them nothing's for free. Told me time is money, dog, swear I paid all my fees. I was starving for this game, now my fan, they can't eat.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Cup of News here at the Cup of News podcast with your host, Matt, and myself, Peter. Thank you for tuning in. Just some housekeeping real quick, and make sure you guys check out our YouTube. We're Cup of Nurses on YouTube, and our videos are also available now on Spotify. Our YouTube channel houses a lot of interesting things. Like I said, all our videos are on there, plus our vlogs and our nursing debriefings are also on there for you guys to tune in and listen to and enjoy for all the nursing fans that we got out there. Make sure you guys check out cupofnurses.com. That's where we house all our blog posts and all our Cup of Nurses information. We have a lot of cool write-ups and show notes for each of our episodes. If you want to find out more about the things that we talk about, we have all our research studies linked over there, and just basically whatever we said here, we reiterate on our blog posts. Speaking of blog posts, make sure you check out wearefrontlinewarriors.com. That is our sister site, and that has more of some mindfulness, wellness, health-related blog posts for you guys to read over and enjoy. Also, both stores have shops, cupofnurses.shop and wearefrontlinewarriors.shop as well for all our cool latest merch. Matt here, for all of you guys watching on the video, he's wearing a love shirt made for nurses, by nurses, and I got the nurse college shirt for all you nursing students out there.
College frat boy shirt.
Oh yeah, college nurse frat boy shirt, yo. And also some big news, Spotify now allows video. So all our Spotify users, you can watch us there now, which is really amazing. Make sure you also give us 5 stars on there, and also 5-star on Apple Podcasts, and make sure you like and subscribe on our YouTube. We also have some big projects in the works. It's called Pronto, spelled Pronto. We have a landing page out there already, prntohealth.com, for anybody that wants to check it out and subscribe. This is geared more towards our healthcare workers. It's something that we've currently been working on here at the Cup of Nurses in collaboration with a few other people to make the healthcare system or healthcare employee kind of journey a little bit smoother. We're going to have an all-in-one app for basically your whole healthcare career and your whole healthcare journey. And I believe that's about all of it. What's up, Matt?
What's up? Thank you for the beautiful introduction. On today's episode, guys, we're going to talk about setting and measuring your goals in 2022. We all have New Year's resolution as this year has started. So let's kill it, and let's do it by the scientific approach, the proper way to do it, and understand what goal setting is and how to measure it. So we're going to go deep dive into this. It's going to be a jam-packed episode. I know this is going to help a lot of people, especially for the mindset people out there. I'm a mindset warrior myself, so I'm pumped for this episode.
Yeah, probably. Now I'm thinking about it. Like, probably the biggest New Year's goal that everybody has is probably like fitness and physical motivation. Because every time January hits, or like early, like mid-December and January, you see a lot of new faces at the gym that are starting their fitness journey, which is really amazing to see. But I feel like a lot of people start their fitness journey, not only their fitness journey, but other journeys and their plans. They have something in mind. They call it a goal, but it's not probably really a proper goal. It's just something that they think they want to do and they want to accomplish. Just so they're calling it a goal, like a fitness goal, like a goal to lose weight. But a lot of people really don't know how to go about setting proper goals, because a lot of times we have these ideas of things we want to do, we want to accomplish, and we start doing them, and then we kind of fall off and realize that hey, maybe I'm not as interested as I thought I was, or I am interested. It's just that the goal that I'm aiming for wasn't properly orchestrated. So we're going to kind of help you guys with that.
Yeah. So first things first, let's find out what is goal setting. So the definition of a goal is an act of setting a target or object you wish to achieve. It sounds simple, yet it is really hard to achieve. And this is the easy part of the process. Telling yourself you want to lose that 10 pounds, you want to weigh 160, you want to bench press 225, you want to read 30 pages a day, whatever the case might be. That's the easy part. The real challenge is not determining the results, but the process of getting there. Are you willing to sacrifice your lifestyle and whatever it might be to get there? And that's the real kicker. You should ask yourself, what kind of pain do I want? Because that pain, a lot of us in the current state of society, we have so much comfort and leisure that anything that's pain related, that brings us pain, physically, emotional, we just tend to avoid it. We suppress it. And in this case, if you want to achieve a goal, your current state is different from where you're trying to achieve it. Therefore, it's going to cause sacrifice to get there. And that sacrifice might be different things based on your goal. And it's going to be an exciting outcome. But what is the journey like? Are you willing to sacrifice in the journey, in that time of what it's going to take? This is a lot of like what Gary Vee even says in the whole entrepreneur space is like, don't think about the goal of maybe making starting a six-figure business or whatever it is. It's like, enjoy the journey, love the journey, because that's what's going to take most of the time in the process to get there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because with any goal, it basically, a goal is something that you usually want to change about yourself or your current state or just something you want to do differently. And of course, anything that involves moving away from the norm, from what your baseline is going to call for some discomfort and some change. Change is difficult, change is hard to do, but that's what's gonna ultimately get you there, because you're obviously creating a goal because you want to change something in some certain way, and the process part is going to get you to attain that goal. And I feel like people are really good at setting these measures and these benchmarks, but they don't really always realize or understand that there's a process associated with it. Like setting up a goal is saying that you want to, like you said, that you want to make a six-figure business in like the next year. The thing, it's good that you've decided on this goal. Now you kind of have to figure out how you're going to get there, and that's kind of the more important thing than the actual goal itself. Because like you could set out any kind of goal. For example, instead of having a six-figure business, maybe you want to start a business. It's a similar goal, but the process was what actually matters. Because you could create a six-figure business without it intending to be a six-figure business. Just your intent could be, or your goal or your intent could just be to start a business, and you could kind of just go from there. But then again, starting a business is going to require you to have that goal of starting a business. So it's something that the goals I feel like are easy to pinpoint and visually, mentally create. It's just a process that's really hard for a lot of people because it doesn't involve a lot of change.
Everybody wants a gold medal, but nobody wants to train like the Olympian to actually achieve it. So when you keep mentioning process, we're going to use a different term for that. We're going to call it systems. So we're going to need proper systems in place in order to achieve that goal. A great example is if you're a writer and your goal is to write the book, what is the system that you're going to have in place, schedule every week for you to finish that book? If you're a runner and your goal is to run a marathon, what are the systems in place you're going to have, the training schedule to get there? Same thing with losing weight, since we're in the New Year's, right? If your goal is to lose 10 pounds, what are the systems in place that you're going to have? Because it's going to be super easy to slip off looking at the kitchen. Damn, I'm just going to have some cookies today. And then you fall off, right? So one system could be getting an electronic scale like we have and checking your weight every single day and seeing where you're kind of floating. If you want to lose 2 pounds a week to reach that goal at the end of the month of 8 pounds, and you've only lost 1.5 pounds that week, well, we got to change some things around. What are the systems? What can we do? Can we decrease some carbs and etc.? Because ultimately that's what's going to get there.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the big portions of goal setting and accomplishing putting in play in these systems is also reflecting back on what's working. For example, you could stick something for like a week or two, but then you're gonna fall off from it in some way, shape, or form, and you have to identify the reasons why you fell off from that goal. What are you really struggling about? For example, we bring up fitness and working out and weight management because it's very easy to to like draw it up because everyone could, attest to trying it at some point in their life. So for example, like Matt said, if you're trying to lose that 3 pounds a week or 2 pounds a week and you miss the mark, you get 1.5 pounds. Is it because you didn't work out enough? Is it because your workout routine is now something that's your baseline and you have to change up because you're not always going to burn the same amount of calories each time? Is it because you select on nutrition? You have all these systems in place. You have a system for nutrition. You have a system for tracking. You have a system for the physical activity. And now you got to kind of continuously check back onto these systems and figure out what's working and what's not. Where could you adjust? What could you adjust on and why? And that's going to help you also achieve those goals because you're going to understand what is the hardest thing for you. If you could go to the gym every day or 6 times a week, you're doing well. But if you're falling off on nutrition, you have to be able to identify. You can't just say, okay, I missed my benchmark of losing 2 pounds this week by 0.5 pound. Okay, great. I'm gonna try again next week. You gotta go more in depth than that. Like, why did you miss that? Is it because your nutrition fell off, or is it because you stopped working out, or what? And that's going to ultimately help you out in the long run because you're going to slowly fix each system and optimize each system for your success, basically.
Yeah, and the systems are actually what achieves the damn goal and the result that you're trying to attain. A perfect example is when we started this podcast, we didn't realize how much organization takes into place, and we realized that our systems are faulty, right? We had an idea of being this successful podcast, but we didn't have the proper infrastructure in place and the systems to actually get us there. So how to set goals. This is going to be the three basic strategies that we're going to go over. So the first one is to ruthlessly eliminate your goals. And what does that mean? Where attention flows, that's where energy goes. So you don't want to have too much goals when you're focusing on one big thing because that's going to dilute your sense of attention. Think about it that way, where if you have multiple screens on a computer, it starts kind of overloading the processor, the CPU, and you can't optimize and be as efficient in that single thing. So if you have one specific goal, pull some attention out of things that you're currently doing into one damn thing. It's kind of funny because when I started travel nursing, I had a goal for myself that I want to do all this cool stuff like train jiu-jitsu, learn how to speak Spanish, play guitar, and all this damn shit. And then I got here, and now I'm just like, it's impossible to do all these things. I just got to choose one thing. Right. And so I'm just going to train for now, and then maybe in 3 months I could pick up a guitar and learn how to play that and kind of go from there.
Yeah, is it motivating? Like if you overset goals or if you set too much of them, and it's in reality, the best thing to do is do one goal at a time. But for example, you set up 4 or 5 goals, and even though you might be doing one on one, you fall off on the other ones, you're gonna feel like shit. You're gonna be like, well, I can't achieve this, I can't achieve that. But in reality of it, you're just trying to take on too much. So try to just have one big goal, and then you can have like little sub goals. Like for example, I'll bring it back to the gym, trying to lose weight. So your goal is to lose 2.5 pounds. But then your other sub goals are to A, go to the gym 4 times a week, and then B, optimize your nutrition, and 4, figure out a way to track it. And those kind of sub goals are a little smaller and easier to accomplish. It's going to get you to a better path on that one major goal instead of saying, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds, and then I want to gain muscle, and then I also want to start a new job. I also want to start hanging out with friends more. Like those goals. The more goals you have in one moment, the more runoff you get. You dilute it, and it's not as meaningful because you might achieve one of them, but then the other 4 are going to drag you down. So it's not as mentally and physically rewarding as having like one goal at a time and you just knocking them one by one.
Yeah, if you have anybody that said, if I only had more hours in a day to do something, that's part of the problem. And just like you mentioned, the problem is that you don't need more time. You just need to decide, and that's goal selection. Where are you going to put your attention?
Yeah, because you can never change time. So if you're focusing on, oh, I wish I had more time to do this, I wish I had more time to do that, you're not really solving anything because you're going to have the same issue the next day. If 6 hours wasn't enough for you to do something today, 6 hours is probably not going to be enough for you to do it tomorrow. So think about the variables that you can change. You can't change when the sun goes up, when it goes down. You can't change what time it is. You can't change how much free time you have after work. That's all. It's almost something that's in like almost like a rubric, you could say, that's unchangeable. So you should focus on things that you could change, not just like always trying to almost like feel bad for yourself because of this, because of that. You should just try to slowly change one thing at a time. It's how just how life works and how humans are programmed. Like when you're like even when you're a baby, you gotta crawl and then you walk, right? And then you finally figure out how to then you babble, then you speak, right? Think about when you're an infant. You learn one thing at a time. You don't walk, crawl, speak, and cry all in like the first year of you being a baby, right? It takes time. So that's kind of how we're programmed to do things, is one thing at a time.
Yes. The second way to set goals is to stack your goals, and habit stacking is planning when and where you'll be executing and implementing your goals. So essentially, you're trying to achieve something new, but why not stack it with something you're already doing? So that's the formula. Current habit, I will insert new habit. That's like the rubric. So an example for this is if you want to meditate. After I brew my coffee, my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. Or let's just say your goal is to floss. After I set my toothbrush down, I will floss my teeth. So what that's kind of doing is you're already doing something that's programmable. You're already making your coffee, you're already brushing your teeth, you're already maybe going outside. So now you're going to insert a new habit just so it's easier to go through the motion. It's like the law of inertia. When something is in motion, it takes less energy to push it. But at the beginning, if you had that big boulder, it's going to take a lot of pressure and force to push that boulder just to start getting that ball in motion.
100%. Yeah. The third one is to set an upper bound. So when we set goals, we usually think of like this one objective, like it's fixed. Like I want to lose 5 pounds. Well, you could try to start incorporating and to kind of maximize, you could say, the amount of success you're going to get from your goal is to add like an upper limit and like a lower limit. So instead of saying like I want to lose 5 pounds, you could say I want to lose at least 5 pounds, but I'm going to try and lose 10. That way, it's not like you're hitting the baseline and you're good. It's like you're giving yourself some wiggle room, but this wiggle room is better than your baseline, because if you lose 7 pounds, well, guess what? That's 2 pounds more than you planned on. That's like a bigger reward than what you aimed for. It's almost like not just getting a gold medal, now you get the platinum medal too. So it helps you with that, and also it'll help you. For example, if you set the bar super high, and if you don't hit that mark, you could try to be that person that it's okay. Try to set that goal real high. That way, in case if you miss, you still achieve something. You know what I'm saying? So maybe instead of like you think you could lose, you want to aim to lose 5 pounds again. And then you should, even though you want to lose that 5 pounds, maybe you should aim for higher. Because if you don't if you don't hit that higher mark, guess what? You have so much leeway that no matter what happens, even if you lose, you're technically still winning. I feel like people kind of disregard that and don't really think about that. But then again, I could see it being the other way around. I guess it depends if you're a pessimistic person or if you're, or if you're really positive. Because I could see that as someone saying, hey, I want to lose between 5 and 10, and they'll feel like shit because they haven't lost 5, because they really want to lose that 10, but they only lost that 5. So you got to kind of learn to give yourself credit, because just by setting goals and slowly hitting that goal, you're already a better person than you were yesterday. It's just hard for us to always remember that, just because we're always so fixated on this fact that we want to have it 100%. But you guys got to realize that an A is still 90%. So even though you might have got, one wrong on an exam that had 10 questions, you're still an A. You're still 90%. You got to give yourself credit where it's due, because the fact that you even set a goal and already are pushing towards that achievement, you're already a lot better person than you were yesterday. And then you're even a better person than you were a week ago. And imagine how better a person you are if you hold that accountability and that goal for a year. You're almost like a saint.
And one more thing about the upper bound, that's also to prevent burnout, essentially. So you have that consistency, but you're sustaining your goal, because if you don't have a upper bound threshold, you're just going to burn out because you don't have any kind of ceiling that you're reaching. And then going back really quick to habit stacking. So researchers actually found that those people that fill out a sentence of inserting the current habit with the new habit were actually 2 to 3 times more likely to exercise compared to the control group who did not make plans on their future behavior. So this is a very powerful method that you could be including. The next thing is, how can you achieve your goals consistently? So the most important thing, of course, is to show up every single day and show up for yourself. So this kind of has like a little self-love thing, because if you kind of, I don't want to say hate yourself, but if you don't feel fully like in tune that you want to pursue this goal, you're going to make a bunch of excuses from your subconscious or telling yourself like, oh, I'm not really good enough for this. I really can't do this. And you're just kind of, all that mental blocks are just going to make it so much harder to, to achieving that goal. Because mindset is one thing, but what we're going to focus on here is how to align your goals with the environment, because environment is going to play a huge factor. And in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, he calls this hidden forces. So the environment is the hidden forces that's going to affect it. Like, let's just say you're an ambitious person. Well, you need the right environment to kind of go hand in hand and parallelly excel your growth and your goals you're trying to achieve. Perfect example is, if you're trying to lose weight, but your loved one, partner, or maybe yourself is putting junk food into the fridge, well, how much harder is it going for you to be eating clean when you have all that available to you? You want to clean up your environment. Same thing when you're on the computer and you're reading a book or you're reading a blog post. If you have 15 tabs open, that's just going to kind of skew away your attention because your environment's not there with one tab to read that damn blog post and then kind of move on.
Yeah, a successful goal achieving is able to control, you could say, as much variables as possible. Your environment plays a giant role. Because like I might say, if you have someone other that buys junk food, doesn't really care too much about fitness and working out, and your physical health goals and their physical health goals don't align, that's something you're gonna have to try and change too. Because in the long run, in the short term, it might not be a big deal, but in the long term, it might decrease your ability to get those goals. Because, you might be able to abstain from that junk food now, but are you going to be able to do that every day for the next 6 months if you're trying to lose 10 pounds in 6 months or however much you want to lose? It's going to get harder and harder each time because, as we all mentioned in this podcast before, it takes like 30 days to develop a decent habit. And sometimes it takes 30 to 90 days to develop a habit. So that's 1 to 3 months for it to be your habit. So if you go to the gym for 3 weeks, well, guess what? That might not be enough for you to develop that as a habit. You might have to consistently and mentally keep reiterating to yourself and in your mind, say, I'm going to go to the gym today. I'm going to work out for 3 to 6 months before it becomes something normal.
Yeah.
They just wake up and you already know what to do. Like, we could easily say that for us, the gym is something that it's a habit. Like, I wake up and it's something that I'm most likely I'm going to do unless I take a rest day. It's not something that I have to like force myself to do unless I'm like real sick or something's going on, So keep that in mind and try to change your environment as much as you can. So if you're trying to lose weight, it's probably not a good idea to always go out every week. Not a good idea to always eat out. Yeah, you might have your friends always hit you up, hey, we're going to grab a drink, you want to come with us? And you're going to have to say no sometimes to those people. They want to hang out with you, they love you, they want to be there for you and with you, but you got to understand that you have a goal and it requires sacrifices because you're changing. So if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're not going to hit your goal because you're still doing the same thing over and over again, which doesn't lead to anything.
And then ultimately with this environment, you're just trying to change the default decision that you're going to make. And a perfect example is we always talk about epigenetics and how environment literally affects how your body and your genes are being produced. So why not create a perfect environment for yourself? And we gave some different examples, some negative, but like a positive example for changing your environment is like if you want to remove drinking soda. So you're always going to carry a water bottle around you. Therefore, the default decision for you is going to grab that water bottle that's already there instead of the soda, which, might be in the fridge or laying around somewhere else.
Right. And you're going to love yourself for this, and your body's going to love it too, because I feel like, especially us nurses, so I'm going to give you another example. So you got a pet dog. Look at all the things that you do to that dog's environment to give it a happy, successful place to live and grow and just be happy as a dog, right? You give them certain dog food, you take them out for walks, even though it might not be the most convenient thing for you. You try to do everything you can to make this dog's environment as positive as possible. You gotta do that to yourself. Same with like when I had fish back in the day, like, if I wanted a fish to grow, I had to take out a few fish out of the fish tank and make that fish grow, and then I reintroduce them and so on and so forth, and you put the plants to have a good time. So we kind of failed to do that to ourselves. We're really good to show our care and love for other things and make their environment really good. We kind of forget about ourselves and make our environment a good, optimal place for us to grow in the ways we want to grow.
Yeah. And scientists, for the fancy people out there, they call this term choice architecture. the ability to make the proper decisions. So we're going to go over some useful strategies that are going to maybe by default help you make better decisions in life. The first one is simplicity. So if you have too much going on, you don't have the right way of focusing, it's going to create a lot of static. So like we always say, where attention is, that's where energy kind of flows. So remove the environment and clean it up for yourself. Perfect example, we talked about the fridge, right? Eliminate the junk food from the fridge. So it's simplistic. You're only eating healthy, whole foods instead of the junk food. The next one is visual cues. And this is an interesting formula that you could implement. So I'm going to give an example of this guy, which was, he invented the paperclip method. And maybe you could use marbles, maybe you could use quarters, nickels, whatever the case might be for yourself. So this guy, Trent Disman, he basically wanted to open up like some kind of agency, and he had to do a lot of calls a day, but he couldn't keep track of how many calls he was making. He was kind of falling off. He wasn't hitting his benchmark. So every single day, he woke up with 2 jars next to him, and 1 jar had 120 paper clips filled. Every single time this guy made a sales call, he basically took that paper clip and put it into the other jar. And all day he'd be making sales till he got finished and put all 120 paper clips in the other jar. And what's interesting about this, it gives you visual cues. A lot of us love feedback. A lot of us are visual and they like to see progress. So this one way, whether it's paper clips or marbles, is one way to kind of track your goal and measure it, that it's actually becoming successful. There's actually some kind of progress happening. And just like a to-do list, it kind of motivates you and kind of makes you want to finish things off.
100%. We always advocate using like a calendar or like your task manager on your phone, because a lot of us are visual, and even though you might not be the most visual learner or like that visual stuff, there's always something that feels good when you check something off, when you get to erase something off the board, or you get to, check mark it or whatever you do to it, because it's rewarding. It shows that, hey, you had something done. And even though you might internally know you have something done, I feel like our eyes and our mind associate better outcomes and positivity if you actually physically cross it off or check it off. Yeah, the next point is opting in and opting out. This is something that I subconsciously do, that I just found out about now when you scripted this. It's easier to opt in for something now, and for example, let's just say I'll do this. Because this happens to me sometimes. Like I schedule myself for a massage. So I schedule my massage maybe like a week in advance, and sometimes this massage happens to be when I come out from work. So I already signed up for this massage a week ahead of time. I know that I work that night, which means I'm going to be probably tired in the morning and I'm going to go to it tired. But the fact that I opted in for it already, it's a lot harder for me to call them and say, hey, I'm not coming in. Versus me just waiting for that day and then having an appointment, because you're more inclined to not do something the day of compared to if you already signed up for it in the past. That's why a lot of times nurses, when they pick up overtime, they don't pick it up the day of, they pick it up in the future. So when you sign up for overtime, usually a nurse doesn't say, hey, I'm going to come in today. It's you say, hey, I want to sign up for next week. Because a lot of times, or majority of times, if somebody calls you pick up overtime the day of, you're going to say no, because it sucks. And even though it still sucks going for the overtime the week later, you already opted into it. So now it takes you more work, more effort to cancel it than it is to just show up. Because now instead of just showing up, I have to call, I have to explain, and I have to replan my day compared to it already being set in stone. Right? I find that very, very valuable, especially if you're someone that likes to do things the day of and you find yourself just putting it off. This is something that's going to definitely be beneficial for you. I'll tie it back to the gym. For example, if you have a gym buddy, have them help you be accountable. Say, use something like this, so I'll be like, hey Matt, let's go to the gym tomorrow. Right?
Let's go.
Right? And I might wake up tomorrow morning and be like, damn, I really don't feel like going to the gym.
Pete, man, I'm ready to go to the gym. You said let's go.
Yeah, see, just like that.
And that already kind of uplifts you,
Yeah, and you're like shit, I already told Matt that I'm going to work out with him tomorrow. Now I'm not just disappointing myself, I'm disappointing Matt. And it's a lot harder now for me to say, hey Matt, I don't really feel like working out today, compared to, me not bringing it up at all and not planning for it, right? Because it's a pain in the ass. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass waking up in the morning and going to the gym, but the fact that you already made plans to do it, you're already subconsciously ready to do it, even though it still might suck.
And ultimately, you're making that decision that you're opting in on a better day. So even though the day of you might be feeling shitty, you're going to just be uplifted to do it because you already are opt-in. And this all started from a famous organ donation study that revealed how multiple European countries, their organ donations skyrocketed because they required citizens to opt in instead of opting out. So by default, you already opt in. You have to manually go in there and opt out of organ donation.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Kind of smart, but it's a little bit kind of messed up if you think about it from a free will standpoint. Like, you already kind of like setting me up for organ donation.
Right, because you always choose a path of least resistance. So if you're already plugged into the program and you have to sign out of it, it sucks. That's why these subscriptions get you. That's why this subscription-based thing is so beneficial, because if you guys remember, like 10, 12 years ago, not everything was so subscription-based. You would pay a one-time thing and one-time payment, and that's it. You would get that product for the rest of your life. Now it's subscription-based, which means you have to pay monthly for the rest of your life until you decide to opt out. And a lot of times, it's a pain in the ass to opt out because you don't know where the hell to do it, and it just adds more steps. And that's why society has moved to more of an opt-out kind of thing for subscriptions, because it makes them a lot more money. Because for you to opt out of something, it takes a lot more effort.
Yeah, just like those free trials, man.
Mm-hmm. Always,
7 day you'll forget and rolls over to 30 and you're already paying. Or this whole monthly or annual thing, automatically you get a year after 7 days. You gotta be cautious, man.
Yeah.
And I love goals.
Great times programs. I still can't believe that. Like, that's like this whole opt-in, opt-out thing. Like when I was looking it over, I'm like, damn, this is like, they got us in the bag, dude. Like they figured it out.
They did, and that's what. Yeah, just like you said, that's why subscription models work. The next thing and the last thing, you have your goals. You know how to set them. You know how to control and align your environment. You're ready to go. Then the second piece of the pie to make this whole is to measure your goals. And how are you going to do that? So measuring your goal is a key factor for long-term progress, for you to be accountable, for you to sustain at your goals, and also you want to figure out that you're actually making progress. You actually want to motivate yourself that you're actually getting there. Whether that's a few months, few weeks, whatever it is. If you're at the gym, you take a progress pic day 1, progress pic day 60, and see how much better you look. That freaking motivates you, and you're ready for day 90, day 120, and etc. So whatever your goal is, just reverse engineer that goal and figure out how you can measure it. Maybe you want to put something up on a calendar, take some notes, set a reminder. You figure it out. That's going to just really depend on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and don't fall off for measuring goals, because every time you measure a goal, I mean, the thing is, if you measure something on a daily basis that maybe takes like 2 to 3 weeks to actually fully develop, like working out, it could get a little bit like stagnating, and you might not feel as rewarding. You could say, like for example, the whole working out thing, you're not going to see much results in the first week. You might see some results in 2 weeks, but it really takes about like a month to 3 months to actually see some like different physical traits of your body. So, but the thing is, like, you still should always keep track of things, because that's like your reward system. Because if you set a goal, if you don't measure it, you're first of all not going to know you're not going to know that you actually attained it, and second of all, you're not going to know how you're doing.
Yeah, how are you going to measure a result?
Yeah, if you want to make a 6-figure business, how are you going to measure, how are you going to know if it's making $1,000, $10,000, 20, 50, 60, up until 100,000? Like, you have to, with money, it's easier because it's numbers and you could do it, but you have to measure everything, and everything is measurable. Some things are more measurable than other things, but everything could be measured. Even like let's say you've been in like a slump for the past like 3 months because it's winter time and you haven't got a lot of sunlight, you have a little bit of a seasonal depression going on. Even if it's something like, for example, trying to just be happier. If your goal is to, hey, today is January 24th and I want to be a little bit more happier by February 19th for like the next, or let's do like a month for February 24th, whatever. You might think it's not like, how am I supposed to measure my happiness? How am I supposed to measure my happiness? How am I supposed to do that? Well, first of all, you're not going to be able to measure it if you just think about it once in a while. Maybe you should journal. Maybe you should journal every day, every 2 days, and then read back through it after the first month and say, hey, damn, well, I could see reading back on January 24th, I was in a slump. Like, the writing style is, it's sad, it's not very energetic, but now it's February 24th, and I can see that, hey, there's been a change. Now I'm highlighting more positives about my day, and not as much negatives, So everything is measurable. You just have to sometimes be a little bit creative about how you measure it, because that's the only way you're going to be able to tell is actually if you're hitting the mark, and it's also going to tell you where you have to change like same with the weightlifting thing, trying to lose weight. If you don't weigh yourself, if you don't check your macros, if you don't work out, you're not gonna see, and if you don't measure those things, you're not gonna see where you're falling off of. Because if you just don't hit the mark and say, oh, well, I didn't hit the mark, try again next week. Well, what do you got to fix next week? Is it the diet that they fucked up on? Is it the gym session you messed up on? Where did you fall short on? You have to measure those things consistently, at least for like the first 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and one mindset shift here, just to kind of think about measuring your goals a little bit different or make it a little bit easier for you, is setting goals, measuring them. It's not all about counting, measuring, tracking. It's not always about the result. Remember, it's about the journey. So what is the journey? The journey of measuring is to discover, to find out, to understand. You're ultimately measuring these goals to understand how you're feeling, you're understanding what's working, what's not, because you could always, fix your goal, set a new goal, and where are you spending your time, what's important to you, things like that. And and just like dieting, when you remove the number game and all that, and you're just like, okay, I'm feeling better, I'm sleeping better. You're finding out things that are pointing towards the direction you're making progress, or creating positive emotions with the journey that you're on to kind of make you sustain that progress long term. Ultimately, and that's what it comes down to.
100%. And remember, a missed goal is never a failed project. It's because you didn't make your goal. Maybe you bombed it. Maybe you tried to, as you said, the gym. I'm gonna lose 10 pounds in 3 months. And what ended up happening is you gained 5 pounds in those 3 months. Well, yeah, that sucks. You went opposite of what your goal was, but now at least you know where you fucked up. Even though the goal did not get accomplished and technically you did fail at your goal, you could at least look back on and say, hey, this is why I messed up, and now you know what you gotta change. Now instead of losing 10 pounds the next 3 months, you could say, I'm just gonna change the way I eat in the next 3 months. So I'll reiterate, because we always hit these goals and we always feel like if you don't hit it, complete failure, completely doomed, but you don't. You at least learn something about yourself. You learn something. What you learn is from gaining that 10 pounds instead of losing it. Well, maybe you're not as motivated as you thought. Maybe your environment was toxic. Maybe you had this goal of 10 pounds, but guess what? You got a new job. You broke up with somebody and you had some trauma going on, or something happened, shit hit the fan, and guess it is what it is. But at least you tried to lose that 10 pounds, and you know what happened if that caused you not to fulfill that or meet that goal. It's never a failure.
It's like a science experiment. There's no such thing as a failed science experiment. You still collect the data and learn something from it. So just treat your body and yourself like that, and you'll do really good. And ultimately, I feel like it comes down to is how bad do you want it? Mm-hmm. If you want it bad enough, you'll freaking go after it. You'll get it. You'll eliminate whatever distractions, whatever is your blurred focus, and you'll kind of get it.
Yeah, and if you're struggling on how to set goals or how to do things, Matt's trying to do a little bit of coaching. He says pretty well goals, and it will definitely help you out if you need to figure something out. If you want to change something about yourself or about your mind or about your life and you don't really know how to go about it, Matt's the guy to go to. Shameless
plug. I love it, brother. Yeah, hit me up, guys. We could work together. Another way I kind of think about all this is your mind, because we're talking about attention and currency, how important that is and everything. It's like your mind is like a spear. It's sharp, it's long, it's pointy. Wherever you point it, that's where your attention is going, your energy is flowing, and that's what you're executing. If you have a dilute sense of attention, you have too many tabs open, you're unfocused, you have too many goals, think about that spear. It doesn't become as sharp anymore. It maybe has some defects. You can't hold it as properly straight. It doesn't become a potent weapon anymore. And ultimately, your mind is powerful. You are powerful as hell. You could literally achieve anything you want. You just have to have the proper systems in place, and you'll achieve your goal.
Yeah, I like that. Like when the analogy you're saying, just to hop on top of that is a knife. Just because a knife gets dull, it doesn't mean you ever use that knife again, right? You just sharpen it, and guess what? It still serves a purpose. That's kind of how we work as well. Sometimes we fall off, but guess what? We're beautiful human beings, and we could hop right back on. We're not just something that you could throw away like a dull knife, because you yourself could just take that knife, sharpen it up, and guess what? It's ready to go and ready to be used, and it might even be better than the first time around.
Yeah, and maybe you'll buy a machete instead.
There you go, bigger knife.
Yeah, but what's also interesting is you have to realize when your knife gets dull. A lot of people don't see that, and so you gotta measure your goals.
That's why you take out the bread.
Take out the bread and some freaking masło, which is butter in Polish.
Yeah.
Make a good ass sandwich, bro. White bread, butter,
That's it.
and some chocolate milk. What is it called in Polish? Kakao.
Kromka z masłem.
With some kakao, bro. I used to love that shit. Or put some tomato and onion on it. Side note. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode about how to set and measure goals in 2022. We all believe you guys have the tools and knowledge now to achieve that. Ultimately, it's going to be up to you. Be accountable. Find an accountable buddy. Listen to this podcast a few more times. You got it. If you have any questions, hit us up.
Thank you so much, guys.
Peace.
See you next time.